If you care about what Northbrook is going to look like 5 years from now, you need to watch this video. Last night, I sat in the Village of Northbrook Board of Trustees meeting that went until 11 o'clock at night, way past my bedtime. And it was absolutely worth every minute because what was presented is a vision for downtown Northbrook that could change the character of this community in a really meaningful way. 2 major redevelopment proposals were on the table. 2 completely different sites and 2 completely different projects. And both of them are going to generate a lot of conversation in this community over the coming months. So in this video, our team is going to walk you through everything that was shared at the meeting, what's proposed, where it's located, what the trustees said, and what it could mean for Northbrook as a place to live. And at the end of the video, we'll share some thoughts on why this kind of development actually matters for the housing market here. Let's get into it. Welcome to Living in North Shore, Chicago. The Caroline Dow team is based right here in Northbrook, Illinois, and we've been helping families buy, sell, and relocate throughout the North Shore suburb for 24 years. This channel is about real information and what's actually happening in the market, in these neighborhoods, in the community. Not fluff, not clickbait. If you're new here, subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss anything. And if you know someone who lives in or is thinking about moving to Northbrook, share this video with them. They need to see it too. All right, before we get into the details of each proposal, let's take a moment to understand why this is even happening. Downtown Northbrook has been a topic of conversation for years. The retailers who anchor a downtown need foot traffic, and foot traffic doesn't just appear, it comes from density, from people who live nearby and walk to restaurants, to shops, to the farmers market. Right now, Northbrook has a challenge that a lot of desirable suburbs face. The homes are beautiful, the schools are excellent, the location is ideal, but the housing stock is largely single family, spread out and expensive to maintain. That creates a gap. There are longtime residents who want to stay in this community they love, but don't want a large home anymore. And there are younger professionals who want to be in a walkable, well-located suburb who can't find the right type of housing at an accessible price point. And on the business side, the restaurants and shops downtown need more living close enough to actually use them on a Tuesday night, not just a Saturday afternoon. The Village conducted a density study not long ago, and here's something that really stood out from the meeting. Within a 1-mile radius of downtown, Northbrook sits at about 50% density compared to neighboring towns, 50. Neighboring communities have significantly greater density than Northbrook does. That gap has real consequences for how vibrant a downtown can be. So what was presented at the meeting last Tuesday is a response to that. 2 private development proposals that, if they move forward, would start to close that gap. One more thing we get into before the specifics. We want to be very transparent here. These notes are based on what I heard directly at the trustee meeting and took notes. I attended personally, and I'm sharing this because I want you to stay informed about your community, and this is important. But it's a preliminary review stage. Details will evolve, plans may change, and if you want the official record, the Village of Northbrook is your source. Don't make any real estate business decisions based solely on what any one person, including myself, say they've heard at a meeting. Got it? Great, let's go. The first proposal is from Pulte Homes, and the site is the shopping center at 1901 Cherry Lane in downtown Northbrook, where I am right now. If you know this plaza, you know it's been around for a long time. It's got tenants, it's got parking, it's the home of the farmers market. It's the heart of downtown Northbrook, but it's also aging, and the footprint doesn't reflect what a modern, activated downtown neighborhood could look like. According to what was shared at this meeting, this plaza is going to be sold. It's a private sale. The Village of Northbrook Board does not control what gets built there, but they do have a review and approval process for what any developer would be proposing. So what is Pulte proposing? 150 for-sale condominium units spread across 3 buildings, 6 stories tall. The first level of each building would be dedicated resident parking. 2 of the buildings would be positioned along Meadow, so this way, there, and then over there in the corner. Now, here's the part that caught a lot of people's attention. The northeast corner would have a standalone restaurant space, and the northwest corner, pretty much where I'm standing, would have a commercial space with room for 3 stores. So this is not just a residential building dropped on a retail lot. This is mixed-use concept, new housing combined with new commercial space on a site that already sits in the middle of downtown. And then there's the Riverwalk component. Part of this proposal includes a Riverwalk along the river with public access. And this is something the community has wanted for a long time. The river runs through that part of Northbrook, and right now public access is limited. Creating a walkable Riverwalk as part of this development would add something to the whole community, not just the residents of the building. So who would live in these condos? What was shared at the meeting is that these would be 2-bedroom, 2-bath units. The targeted demographic is empty nesters who want to stay in Northbrook, longtime residents who are ready to leave the large single-family home but aren't ready to leave this community, and younger professionals looking for a well-located, low-maintenance home in a suburb with great access to the city. The price range discussed was $600,000 to $1.1 million per unit, and the thinking is that not many school-aged children would be in this resident profile, which addresses some of the density concerns that come up in communities with excellent schools. What did the trustees say? A few things came up that were worth paying attention to. The first was concern about the current tenant. Right now, there are 10 businesses leasing space in this plaza behind me. A redevelopment of this scale would displace them. The board raised this direct. The response was that the village has connected with the Chamber of Commerce to work with those businesses on relocation. The farmers market, which has a home in this area too, was also specifically mentioned as something that needs to be addressed in the planning process. The second concern was height. 6 stories is significant for downtown North. To give you a frame of reference, it would be 1 story taller than the bank building on Meadow, which is a landmark building in the downtown area. The trustees want to understand the visual impact. They asked for more detailed elevation drawings so that the community can actually see and envision what it would look like as the plans progress. Something else that came up in the discussion was the risk dynamic of mixed-use development. For developers, adding commercial tenants to a residential project introduces complexity and risk. Residential is more predictable. Commercial lease up takes longer and depends on factors outside of the developer's role. Residential is a more predictable income. The board was clear. This is a preliminary review. No decisions have been made. The developer gets feedback, goes back, refines the concept, and comes back with more detail. The community will have more opportunities to see and respond to this as it develops. Please attend future meetings so your voice is heard. Now let's move to the second proposal. This one is at a site you may know from the former name, the Granger site. The address is 1657 Shermer Road, Lot 2. And unlike the Cherry Lane Plaza, this is a sale where the village of Northbrook is actually the seller. The village owns this property. It is being sold to Habitat Development Company for $10.5 million. The sale is structured as an as-is transaction. There is a tip tax increment by relief involved, and the expected closing date is at the end of 2026, December, contingent on permit approval. So what is being proposed here? This one would be a for-rent apartment development, luxury, 272 market rate luxury units and 48 affordable housing units. That is 320 units total on a single site. At that scale, you can build amenities that smaller complexes simply can't justify. What was mentioned is that residents would have access to a pool and fitness center, the kind of luxury amenities that attract a certain renter profile and allow you to command higher rent. This is not the same profile as the Cherry Lane condo buyer. This is a rental market. People who want a high quality apartment experience in a great suburb without the commitment of homeownership. The location has a lot going for it. It's approximately half mile from the Metro train station. For someone commuting to Chicago, that is genuinely walkable. So you won't need a car to get to the train. That's a real differentiator for this site compared to a lot of suburban apartment options that require you to drive to transit. Now, here's a piece that benefits the whole community, not just the resident. This development includes a 500-stall public parking garage, 500 spaces available to the public. If you have ever navigated downtown Northbrook on a busy weekend and it's circled looking for parking, you understand why this matters. More parking capacity downtown is good for every business and every resident who uses that area. And on the ground floor, there would be 8,000 square feet of retail. Activating the street level of a large residential building with retail is how you create a neighborhood that feels alive rather than just a building surrounded by a parking lot. It connects the residents to the street and gives the street something to offer the resident. The building itself would be 5 stories. From a financial structure standpoint, TIF financing deserves a brief explanation for anyone who isn't familiar with how it works. Tax increment financing financing is a tool that municipalities use to encourage development in areas that need investment. The idea is that increased property tax revenue generated by the new development, the increment above the baseline, is used to help finance the infrastructure or project costs associated with the development. It's not a tax break in the traditional sense. It's a way of using future tax growth to unlock development that might not happen otherwise. The village used this tool here as part of the deal structure with Habitat Development Company. Now let's talk about what all of this means. We sat in that meeting until 11 o'clock at night and came away genuinely encouraged, not because these projects are perfect or fully baked, because they're not. They're preliminary. There are real questions to answer about tenants, the height, about design, about how the community absorbs this kind of change. Those conversations need to happen, and they will. But here's the bigger picture. Northbrook is a community that people want to be in. The problem is housing inventory doesn't always match what people need at different stages of life. A family of 5 might find exactly what they're looking for here, but an empty nester who's raised that family in Northbrook and wants to stay, or a young professional who wants North Shore quality of life without a 4,000 square foot house, those options are currently limited. What both of these proposals do, if they move forward, is create new housing types that have been largely missing from this market. Think about the ripple effect of the Cherry Lane condos. If a longtime Northbrook resident, someone who's lived in their 4 or 5 bedroom home for 25 years, can now buy a 2-bedroom condo in the heart of downtown and stay in the community they love, what happens to their home? It comes to market. It becomes available for a family moving in from somewhere else, a growing family who needs that space. That is how a housing market breeds. New inventory at one end of the spectrum unlocks movement throughout the whole chain. And for the restaurants and businesses downtown, more residents within walking distance isn't a nice to have. It's the difference between a business being viable on a slow Tuesday and struggling. The density study made that clear. Northbrook is underdense compared to neighboring communities. These developments are a response to that reality. The team also wants to acknowledge that when the trustees did what they did well in this meeting, they asked hard questions. They pushed on the tenant displacement issue and didn't just accept, we'll figure it out as an answer. They asked for better visual representations so the community can actually engage with the proposal. They talked openly about the risk dynamics facing developers and what the village can do to encourage good outcomes. That is how a trustee board is supposed to operate. And it reflects well on this community that these conversations are happening in public, on the record, with community input baked into the process. Let's do a quick recap of both proposals. The Cherry Lane Plaza at 1901 Cherry Lane, Pulte Homes, 150 for-sale condos, 3 buildings, 6 stories, first floor resident park, 2 buildings along Meadow, 1 in the southeast corner, a standalone restaurant in the northeast corner, commercial space for 3 retailers in the northwest corner, public Riverwalk access, 2-bed, 2-bath units targeting empty nesters and young professionals. Price range $600,000 to $1.1. 10 current tenants would need to be addressed. The board wants detailed elevations before the next stage. This is a preliminary review. No decisions have been. The Granger site at 1657 Shermer Road, Lot 2, Habitat Development Company. Village of Northbrook is the seller. $10.5 million in an as-is sale with TIF relief. Expected to close December 26, pending permit. 272 luxury for rent units plus 48 affordable housing units. 5-story. Pool and fitness amenities. Half mile to the Met. 500 stall public parking garage. 8,000 square feet of ground floor retail. 2 different projects, 2 different sites, both pointing in the same direction. More housing, more activation, more life in downtown Northbrook. If you want to stay current on what's happening in the Northbrook real estate market and this community, this channel is where the Caroline Gow team shares real information directly, not press releases and not fluff. Our team has 24 years of experience on the North Shore and is right here in Northbrook watching this market every day. If you have questions about what these developments might mean for your family and for your property value, your plans to buy or sell, or if you're considering a move to Northbrook and want to understand the community that you'd be joining, reach out. The link is in the description. Subscribe if you haven't yet and hit the bell to catch the next video. And if you know somebody who lives in Northbrook or is thinking about it, share this video with them. This is the kind of thing people want to know about. The Caroline Gow team will see you in the next one. Bye for now.